Gina Bianca is a 15-year industry veteran, the owner of the network for 10 years. And today we're going to hear her story, plus what she sees going on in the beauty industry from the business side, and what trends we can expect to see next year. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong Show. My name is Robert Hughes, and I am your host. And today I'm with Gina Bianca. How you doing today, Gina?
I'm amazing. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Corey, from Your Day Off podcast, Hairdresser, for making this introduction. I'm super excited for this talk. We like to talk about business and anything that can help people's business, professional life, even personal life, and we like to talk about healthy hairdressers from the perspective of finance, business, and community, as well as mental, physical health. And but we are definitely like a business and professional forward podcast. So thank you for coming, and just super excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And all of that sounds right up my alley. So
Awesome. Yeah, I know. Corey was like, have you ever interviewed Gina? I was like, Gina Bianca. I was like, no, actually, I would love to. So let's get started. Let's jump right in. So tell us, kind of give a high level little overview of your story before we start getting into talking business. Give anybody who's listening or watching a chance to kind of get to know like where you've been, what you've been doing, and where you're going.
absolutely. So I graduated hairdressing school in 2009. I have been a color specialist my entire career. When I was 23 years old, I opened my first salon. It was a team-based pay salon, meaning everybody was paid hourly and pay was based on overall performance. And it was a very culture-driven, team-based environment. I worked with strategies as my business coaches. I owned that business for 5 years. I decided after growing my social media for, 7 years after beauty school that I wanted to become an educator. So I ended up closing my team based salon, opening my current salon, which is a 30 chair booth rental salon, and focusing mainly on education and focusing on the booth rental model, which is a little bit more hands off, but not really. We could talk about that. So for the past 7 years, I've been educating full time, a salon owner the other full time. I also work with brands. I own a mastermind group where I do online education and coaching and mentorship. I always think of myself as a mentor rather than a coach. My mission has always been to elevate the beauty industry and to help hairstylists take their cosmetology license and make a beautiful business from it, which I have done. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for my cosmetology license. I've done so much with it. So I always try to help others do the same. And I talk to a lot of hairdressers all the time. And I feel like I have a pretty good pulse on what goes on. And I feel like the industry is in a weird spot right now, and I really want to talk about it. I have a lot on my heart when it comes to it. So that's just a little bit about me. I also do have a podcast, the Gina Bianca podcast, where I also, talk about business. And for the last year, I've done a salon owner series. So I have 52 episodes where I only interview salon owners. So if you're a salon owner listening and you need like a free resource for the last 52 weeks, I've been talking to only salon owners. And yeah, so I'm a full-time salon owner here at the Network Salon in Southington, Connecticut. And that's pretty much my life. Salon owner. I'm a new mom. My baby's
Congratulations.
about to be a year old. I'm married. I have two dogs, a husky and a pit bull. I love to cook. I love to cook for groups. I'm super Italian. And I say fuck a lot. I do curse a lot, and I don't mean to, but it's just how I am. So that's like the bird's eye view from me.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Okay, so the first thing is that I want to ask is something you said. I don't know if I want to how deep into it because I do want to get your view of the industry. But I think this is kind of related. You mentioned like going from team based pay to booth rental. Like talk about. I mean, to me that seems very kind of odds in the spectrum where like everybody's kind of like lifting and being paid not based on productivity necessarily, right? And
No, they were definitely paid based on productivity. It was not commission. So Team-based pay is such a different animal, and I feel like it takes a really good salon owner who knows what is what is going on. And for the longest time, that was me. Like, I knew all of the numbers. I did my own QuickBooks. I had scoreboards, spreadsheets, report cards. I was like super engaged with it. And I got really jaded because this was back in 2014, and I owned GBH from 2014 to 2019. And during that time, I trained so many stylists. I'm still friends with most of them to this day, good friends. And many of them own salons. Like, many of them are very successful. And I take my flowers for that. I trained so well. Had an extremely profitable business behind the chair. I was double booked, triple booked. That's how I trained my assistants. But I got very jaded when people would leave and go booth rental. It was almost like I was building, building, building. And then once they could go and be independent, like where I don't have to babysit them, they left. And I got very jaded about that. And I started educating because I'm like, I'm sick of paying people to learn from me. I want people to pay to learn from me. And then I got a taste of the whole independent educator lifestyle, which will never be the same. That was a whole era that is now over.
Okay, I'm gonna need to know. I'm
That
gonna
is
need
an
you to explain that one.
there will never be as much money that was made
Okay.
again. That era is over. Like, it's not over, but it's like it's so saturated now that it's way more of a grind. For me, it was so easy. It was like, oh my God, this is like, why do I even own a salon? Fuck this place. I ran from my problems as a young salon owner into social media, into education, into fame, into people kissing my ass. You know, people were like obsessed with me, cry when they meet me. And I've got someone bitching and moaning about having to come to work on time. I was living a double life. So during my double life, I decided I don't want to do this anymore. I closed, which was a whole insane thing to build something so great and then to walk away. It was very insane and great because I wouldn't be where I am without doing that. And then I ended up opening a different type of location where I'm like, you can come rent from me. And if you want big sister energy, that's it. But I'm not your mother. I would travel, I would teach, I would host huge events here, and I had all renters. I really only had like one or two renters. And then when COVID hit, everyone wanted space. And that's what we have, space.
Oh,
So we filled up during COVID. It was the biggest blessing. We expanded, we filled. I opened a yoga studio. So I own a yoga studio and a salon. Yoga studios against this wall, salons against that wall. And we've been building this business for like 7 years. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing. And it's just super interesting, though. I could go on and on. It's just super
so
interesting, though, like how the industry is now.
so let's talk. Let's open up the educator thing just a little bit, so people who are curious to know to understand that more. I'm assuming that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're talking about how in the earlier days the space was there weren't a ton of people in the space, and they were demanding very high prices for their classes. Or is that, do I got
Not
that
even
right?
just that. Not
Okay.
even just that, Robert. Literally, like, if you go on TikTok and you scroll on TikTok, there's just people hating on educators. There's people hating on hairstylists. There's just like this dialogue in the industry where like value doesn't match the price.
Yeah.
And where a lot of educators and hairstylists don't take the economy, they don't take demand, they don't take those types of things into consideration. After COVID happened and I got back to teaching, my ticket prices dropped. I dropped them because I was like, the average hairstylist is broke right now.
Totally.
You know what I mean? My ticket went from $600 to $295, and my business class was $195. And I tried to make it as accessible as possible because I'm like, the everyday average hairdresser needs my education more than anybody, and I need to make this accessible. And then you have other educators, and I'm not bashing them, but I'm saying if you're charging $600 for a ticket, you better add massive value because people talk. Like I've seen so many educators charge six, seven, $800, and they like will fill a class because they're famous, and then people are like, it wasn't worth the price, and they burn out. And people talk. Then you'll get the person on TikTok saying, "I went to this class, it was trash." This person's charging this for that, and it's basic stuff. So I really think the pricing is kind of like we need to talk about it because people talk, and I feel like it's the same with hair. Like I
So let's
feel
talk
like
about it. So what is like, I mean, what is reasonable? I always thought that like a 250 $300 look and learn class was ridiculous. And I still feel that way, but like I know that that seems to be that seems to be like a market price. I just couldn't imagine spending that kind of money to watch someone cut hair. I need hands on, but then if it's hands on, I expect $400 minimum up to $600 would make sense. Now tell me how much you agree or disagree with that.
I agree with you. I really think your class ticket should be your average ticket in the
Oh,
salon. Like hot take. Like I think and you also have people who like don't really do hair anymore too. Like, you have people like I shifted a lot more to business rather than technique because I'm not behind the chair as often. And I prefer to teach business because every day I'm teaching business. Every day I'm running my salon. So I always I always tell people, teach what you do, right? Teach what you do. And I can teach people how to do fast color techniques. I could teach them how to do foiling and all of that stuff, but it gets repetitive over and over and over. I'm not doing $1,000 box dye transformations every single day. If you really average out everything that I'm doing, my average ticket is between $295 and $495. It's pretty, that's what my normal everyday client gets. They're getting 2 hours of my time because I'm pretty fast for 130 to 150 an hour. So like that's a good price. And I feel like, some people, they may charge $600 for a class, but they're not doing that behind the chair really. They may like say they are, but a lot of people aren't really doing that. It's like you have to be careful what you believe on social media. And I'm not bashing any educator. Like I'm not saying anyone in specific, but I'm saying there's a lot of people who come on the scene hot, they charge 600, and then people will go to that class like with all of trying to buy all of this hope, and then they're kind of let down. And then they're never going to take your class again. And then one person will tell 20 people it wasn't worth it.
yeah. I mean that what you're saying definitely tracks with what I hear when I talk to like local stylists, and that's definitely 100% what they say. Like, value doesn't match the price,
Yeah, and
and we're
they
in
don't
a
want an influencer. They want an educator. And if you're an
yeah.
influencer, that's amazing because you can sell tickets. But you need to be like a well-trained or practiced educator, or else people are going to be like, and you need to have something other to teach besides hair. Like you
Yeah.
need to bring people in. They need to learn like tips and tricks and all of that. Like how many different things can you do doing hair? I've seen every lived in color technique. Nothing blows my mind. But if you could tell me like a certain way you talk to your clients, if you could tell me a certain dialogue, if you could tell me like something about you where I could fall in love with you, then I'm like, this was worth it. But if you're just like, someone's like, why are you doing it that way? Oh, that's just how I do it. Give me a break. You're charging $600. That's my
So,
hot take.
I talked to Ashley Norman about this topic, and she was it's kind of basically saying this, talking the same way. And she said something about how like there are educators, and I love this, and I love Ashley Norman, and shout out to her. She's awesome. I think she's awesome personally. But something that came up with that conversation, and then also subsequently, I had other conversations about this, and the same thing keeps coming up over and over is being a good influencer means you're like good at content creation and entertainment, but that has nothing to do with your ability to teach, and how you have all these people, but that's also like shaming somebody for and maybe they deserve it, but like that, like let's just put it this way. If you have a big following, just as this is business, not caring about people's feelings or the craft at all, just speaking strictly business. If I have a if you have or anybody has a, large enough following to be able to sell tickets across around the country, to classes, then why wouldn't you monetize your following? Now you could like alienate your followers. Well, what I've discovered in talking to people, and maybe this is part of something that's waning because of this conversation, but it's like having the opportunity to take a class with somebody who is a trained educator is not as appealing as taking a class by an influencer. Like people flock to their influencers because they're celebrities, and so I don't know how do you how do you reconcile that? Because like if you talk about the educator, that's one thing, but the educator's like, yo, they're buying my tickets. It's like what? Get off my case. They love me. I don't know.
So this is what I have to say about that. There's one thing is, if you want to be an educator, you have to educate every day. You have to educate your guests behind the chair. You have to educate on social media, go teach at the schools for free, train your assistant. You have to educate every day, and you'll become an amazing educator if you educate every day. That's how I became an educator. I took one national educator training with Paul Mitchell where I learned how to sell products. That was the only formal education I ever had. The rest of it, I learned how to be an educator from training my assistant, because I needed them to understand how to do what I do so that I could send my client to them. I was able to answer their questions by breaking it down as small as possible until they understood. It wasn't just like, oh, that's just how I do it. It was like, this is why I do it. If we hold it at this angle, it goes like this. If we take this section, it looks like this. So really, like, you have to educate every day. You don't. Okay, so with that being said, there's educators who are amazing educators. Nobody knows who they are because they're not an influencer. Then there's amazing influencers who have no educator training and probably have never taught anyone anything. They just do what they do. They're great at content and whatever. This person gets on stage and bombs. This person gets on stage and nobody comes. So then there's a person who wants to do both or be an educator, but like, what do they do? So me and I don't know if you know her, Olivia Thompson, OMG
Oh
Artistry.
yeah, of course, I
Um,
love her.
Olivia and I created a program called Educate with Influence, where it teaches educators to market themselves and influence, and it teaches influencer how to be a classically trained educator. The gap is huge. So the whole point of the program is to fill the gap. So since we're talking about that I've created something to help people, because there's no training now. And people are like, I want to work with a brand. Back in the day, to work with a brand, you would go to a hair show and stalk them and take
Yeah.
out the trash and clean and assist and be their bitch and work for free for years. And you would use their products in the salon, only their products. If you ever use a different product, they would dead you. You would never be spoken to again from them if they ever saw you using a different product. And now today, if you want to work with a brand, you need a following. Like, no one will look at you. All of the brands work with agencies to fill influencer positions, and they're not looking for educators. They're looking for where to throw their marketing dollars. And when it comes to educators within a brand, you have to really go from the bottom up or come with a following. And even if you go from a bottom up, if you're not building your following that whole time, you're really not going to go anywhere, because they're going to hire someone right above you who has 10 times your following, and your 10 years of hard work, you're going to be in the shadow of someone who is better at content creation than you. It's super weird.
Yeah, this is so good. This conversation, I saw your Educate with Influence course, and I thought that was brilliant. So yeah, if anybody out there is interested in becoming an educator and you don't have a following or vice versa, you should definitely check that out. And maybe you can give me the link to that and we'll leave it in the description below.
Yeah, totally. And I can actually grant you access to it so you can look at it before you share it or something, because it is a
Okay.
beautiful course. We don't even call it a course, we call it a program, because like part one is how to educate, how to lesson plan, how to hit learning types, how to, answer difficult questions during you know, how to answer difficult questions during class, how to keep the class flow going. Part two is how to become an influencer, how to build a following. And part 3 is how to turn it all into a business. So like how to sell tickets, how to start a podcast, how to do online education, how to plan a whole event, right? Like if you're going to do a
Yeah.
live event, how are you going to do an event? How to facilitate hands-on, how to price your classes. I have spreadsheets, everything. Because people ask all the time and I'm just like, dude, it's too much to type. Like I can't like just be like, hey, do this. It's like, well, what are you using? Like I'm a Kajabi expert. I don't know if anyone knows about Kajabi, but for online education, like a learning management software, people are like, well, where do I host my videos? YouTube? I'm like, no, you got to lock up your video. Like people don't know how to do it. So I created just like a step by step. And then we obviously do like lives and mentorship and have the Facebook group and the Instagram and like all of the stuff. But like for some people, it's their dream, but the old way of doing it doesn't exist anymore. Like you need to have the skill, and when you build the following and the opportunity comes, you'll be ready for the opportunity. You're not going to bomb. And even if you got Educate with Influence to be a better educator to your client, to your team, on Instagram, at the schools, like it will help you with, and it'll help you just like in your career. Like it's good. It's not just like, hey, you want to work for a brand. It's very like multifaceted.
Nice. Awesome. That sounds great. So that basically is the solution to the problem that we were talking about. So problem solved right there.
Just
Uh,
saving the world. One program at a time.
okay, and I'm going to take you up on. I would love to check that out and see what it looks like. So moving on, what I want to get to this thing you said. What is the weird state of the industry? I don't know if that was what we're talking about or if there's something else. Like, what are you talking about when you said that? Because you said that before we started and after once we started this conversation.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like kind of like honest, and it's not positive. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah. Come on, let's hear it. Real talk.
So like I've just spent like my whole career like trying to elevate the beauty industry. And I feel we're kind of at a low point right now. Um
In what
my
way?
f- I just feel like we're kind of at a low point. There's a lot of disrespect toward hairstylists. Um, if you go on TikTok and read the comments of what people write about hairstylists have priced themselves out. Hairstylists are too big for their britches. Hairstylists are scam artists, like all these things. The value doesn't match the price. It's definitely not worth the money. Nobody has money for that. There's like this whole like dialogue around getting your hair done. And I think a lot of it comes from like, uh, I think a lot of it comes from COVID because, and I hate that we're still talking about COVID, and I'm not a COVID scapegoat person. I'm not. I'm kind of like, figure it out. Like, we need to move on. But since COVID, the economy has changed, our industry has changed, and I feel like a lot of hairstylists have lost the important fact that our clients pay our bills. Like
Totally.
our clients are the most important people. It's not about your following, it's not about the clout and the likes and all of that shit. It's about doing amazing work, giving an amazing experience, building an amazing relationship, building trust, telling them how to take care of their hair, what to use at home and when to come back. Like we're too focused on like getting content. We're too focused on like doing what we want to do, not what they want to do. We're too focused about what we're getting paid rather than like if they're happy. And I think that there are so many people flooded into booth rental who are not ready and who have no idea how to like run and manage a business. I'll give you an example. 2 clients this week have complained that their hair isn't right a month after they've gotten their hair done. A month. So I go to the stylist, I'm like, and these are renters. I'm like, hey, do you have a waiver? Like where if they need a redo, it's within 7 days. They're like, no, I didn't know I could do that. I'm like, girl, figure it out. Like, why do I have to do a redo? Why am I getting a 2-star review? You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's happening to everybody. And then I want to just put out there, my friend Danielle does hair. She posted a TikTok and she was like, I can't believe you guys are posting that you're slow and that everyone's slow and that nobody's busy and that it's the slowest winter ever. She's like, "You would have to waterboard that information out of me. Like, I would never post that, and it is embarrassing. Like, nobody's gonna wanna go to you if you're posting that you're dead."
Oh my gosh.
So I just I just really think but they're posting that to be a victim, to get engagement, to have people be like, "Are you okay?" It's like, "No, you have to do the hard work. Figure it out." Hot take.
You know what? It's like I'm glad you're saying it because, like, honestly, my whole vibe with this, all this like pursuit of content, customer shaming online. It's like my clients look at my social media. So I'm not gonna like shame them for being late, or not, or canceling last minute. And like no empathy seems to be in in this industry. Like at least if you look at social media, I also think that the majority of us are not on not making content like that. I think it's a small group. I mean I believe it to be not the majority, and but because it's social media and it's a bullhorn, it amplifies the message and it looks like it's everybody. Just kind of like it's kind of like I always say, I don't see any salon stylists that are commission-based stylists that work for somebody else making content, giving hairdressers advice to go work for somebody else because it's helpful to build your book. I don't see that. I see salon owners saying that, teachers saying that, suite owners saying that, but the students that I talk to on a regular basis, they don't. They're like seeing the glory of being a business owner, being independent. They're going straight on their own, falling on their face, filing bankruptcy, calling people like myself, and crying, saying, "What do I do?" And then you have and those that are out there are making shaming videos and like saying like, "Oh, these are my policies," like posting on social media to their customers being like, we had to raise our prices, and like I don't know, it's just the whole vibe is the opposite of how I was trained. Like I was trained very old school. To me, what you're saying sounds very old school. Like it feels like we're going to get back to what the market wants because that's what happens in a free market. The customers have choices and they are going to make decisions based on how they want to spend their money, not how we want them to spend our money. And it doesn't really matter about anybody's feelings, like, or anybody's thoughts or opinions or new ideas and new ways of doing things. Like at the end of the day, like all that is fine to talk about and it's fun, especially on podcasts and stuff. And I'm all for it. I'll go down a rabbit hole with you for some new idea or new concept. But at the end of the day, what I notice is my customers, they haven't changed. They want the same thing, like what you just said. Like you just nailed it. So I'm glad that. Anyway, that's my response to what you just said.
I think after COVID, people the prices have gone up because of inflation. That's a whole different combo. And people save up to get their hair done, and they're very particular about what they want. They're way pickier. So if you have not continued to elevate, continue to put customer service first, and like take your ego out of it and remember that you're a servant, like I don't think it's the right business for you. Like a lot of people go into hair school and they think they're going to come out and charge like 400 for a full highlight. And like, I'm sorry, I don't even charge 400 for a full highlight. Like I just
Yeah.
think that people kind of have this idea. And like, I want to leave this conversation, like this part of the conversation with this. And this is something that I think every hairstylist and salon owner, everyone needs to remember is that hairstylists have the license to touch. And like the impact that we can make on a human being is more than like we even know. There's people who go through their whole lives with no connection, no touch. They look forward to these appointments. They save up all of their money to get their hair done. Maybe when they get their hair done is when they feel the most beautiful and the most confident. And maybe they like really need this. And like we're over here thinking about ourselves. And I
Mhm.
think like you're suffering when you're thinking about yourself. So like some of the harshest advice I have to give to people is stop thinking about yourself and start serving your clients And I really think that us as an industry need to get back to that, especially in 2025. Like my whole focus in 2025 for my education in my mastermind group is the end-to-end experience. How someone finds out about you to how you follow up with a lost customer. The end-to-end experience needs to be improved for all of us. And that's how we're going to get to the next level. Because I really do think we took a big step back after COVID. I'm not shaming anyone, but I really do think we all need to like take it to another level and remember why we're even here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, I'm pretty sure I'd have to pull the data up, but I'm pretty sure I saw that the expectation of value is at an all-time high from customers, and it's reported that their experiences are very low. I don't know if it's an all-time low, but it's very low on the customer's experience. So it's like you're gonna get like a mediocre, maybe okay experience, potentially bad, or you got to pay a lot of money to get a very high and a very good experience. That's kind of what I'm reading and what I'm seeing personally. And
Can I just give one hot tip for
yeah,
everybody listening on how to give a better experience? Because a lot of people don't do this. And when I'm in an experience where this happens, I get so freaking mad. Can you talk to your client about the price before you start their hair? Like, we all want that client who comes in, sits down, and says, do whatever you want, and then spills the tea for 2 hours. We want those clients, but those clients will never be if they don't trust us. And we're losing clients left and right because we sticker shock them. I hate being sticker shocked. Like, I make a beautiful income. I hate being sticker shocked. And I can't even tell you, like, stylists that come in and work here, like, it takes coaching and training and like accountability to get them to talk about the price. Like, they're afraid to talk about the price and then they sticker shock and then the client will never come back. Like, it's not just, I'm not saying you, I'm saying this is happening everywhere. Like, do not sticker shock your client. Talk about the price, be transparent, talk about their budget, talk about when they can come back and what they can afford. Like, it's really the basics are lacking.
totally. And also, here's a hot take. I mean, it's not mine originally, but I mean, and if it is, I was having it at the same time as somebody else, but I think that a lot of people are apprehensive and nervous about the confrontation of raising their prices. And when they had and they didn't raise the prices for years, and then COVID came around, and it's almost like they had permission to raise their prices, and they jacked their prices way up. And then the customers were like, there's all these kinds of articles about people feeling like they're getting price gouged. It's not like okay
Well,
to,
a lot of people are being price
yeah,
gouged.
yeah. And so like I think that it's not okay to do that. It's unethical. And but at the same time, like you're saying, like at the end of the day, it comes down to value. Like if you're jacking up your prices, and as long as the customer knows, it's their decision to come and see you. But like you're saying, I totally agree with the value match to price. And it's like, for what are they getting in exchange for that amount of money? Like, what is the alternative? Because Harvard Business Review did a study, and they found that the way people make decisions, and this is just one study, so take what you will, but they said that the way people make decisions is an allocation of dollars. So it's not, can I afford this? What's my budget? It's kind of like that, but it's more like, or is that worth it? At the end of the day, if you have $10 in your wallet, you can need $1 for gas, $1 for groceries, $3 for rent, and you got two, well, how many ever dollars you have to left over, and then you're going to decide with this discretionary spending, you're going to, you'd like to go out to dinner, and then what's left over. So you're competing with not with maybe other hairdressers, and I think you're competing with them too, but you're competing with all the other things that people have to pay for. And so like, are people gonna go out to a restaurant one last time to come and see you? Maybe, because like going out to a restaurant nowadays, I don't know about where you're at, but in DC it's like $100 minimum a person if you want to go to like a halfway decent restaurant. So it's like, if I could skip three dinners out, and I can get my hair looking good for 3 months or 2 months, that's a good deal. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. And I'm like the first person to like speak like to hairdressers, charge your worth, right? But like, what is your worth? And I think like a lot of people, I saw a comment, it was like, people haven't taken Gina's pricing class and it shows, because I would never tell someone to raise their prices unless they're 85% booked consistently. Like, it's supply and demand. Supply and demand. If you don't have the demand, there is your 911 warning signs, lights, sirens, warning, you're not ready. 85% booked. If you have no software to even tell you if you're 85% booked, there's another problem,
Hmm.
right? Like, you don't just raise your prices for fun. You raise them when the supply and like supply and demand. And then, I kind of go into like reputation, experience, demand. Like, those basic things, like your reputation, like what are people saying about you? Are you getting reviews? Are you getting referrals? Are you having people say like, I'm so happy? Can you screenshot 5 messages a week from your clients saying, I'm so happy? Like, what are people saying about you? And then your experience, like, you 2 years out of school? Are you 12 years out of school? Like, are you taking classes? Like, all of those things. Like, you really have to look at the big picture. Am I doing everything that I need to do where a price increase is going to be like, accepted? Or am I just going to like do it because I want to and then deal with it later? Because I think a lot of people do that and they get all this pricing education. I teach people how to reverse engineer 100K properly by reverse engineering 200K, which, have you seen how to make 100K? And it's like, that's how you make 40 grand. Are you fucking dumb? I can't. So I can teach you how to reverse engineer, but like, you, if you're 40% booked and you raise your prices to try to make 100K, you're going to be 20% booked. I always say, if you raise your price 10%, you're going to lose 10% of your clients. If you raise it 20%, you're going to lose 20%. If you raise it 30%, you're going to lose 30%. So if you're not 85% booked and you do a 20% price increase, you might put yourself in a position where it's like, oh my God. And then what's your reputation? Oh, it's expensive, but not worth it.
Totally.
You
So,
know?
so if we're talking about like, I guess that, if would you say that that's your trend, that what you see for 2025, the trend of 2025 is value, like just really leaving value customer in the customer experience, honing our skill set to match the prices that we've been charging. Kind of, is it like the year of equalizing our price to value? Is that the focus? And is there anything else?
I think the focus for me is going to be the end-to-end experience. That's going to be my focus. And I think that all of us need to remember why we're here. And why we're here is to serve the customer. And if your ego can't handle that, you may be in the wrong career.
Yeah, and there's also like, I will say this because I get this. I have some people in my world in my life that they love to point out the exception every time. It kind of drives me nuts because like I'm more of a macro person personally, but I've learned to acknowledge this. Some of you out there listening and watching will become famous, and you will be able to demand big dollars. And it is very hard, especially with young people, to speak about probability of success because everybody young, I don't even know I was, wants to blaze a trail and defy the norm or the statistics or the probabilities. And every generation has people who defy them and stick out. They're outliers. And so maybe I'll let you give some advice on that. I think that it's important to know that you want to shoot for the moon, go for it, but just like set yourself up in a way that if you don't make it to the moon, you'll be in the stars. You won't just come straight down to earth and like, head first into the ground, into the cement.
Saying this like would hurt me, but I think we all need to not focus on social media as much and focus on our clients.
Amen.
I mean, I want you to watch my social media. I want your views. I want your money. You know, I want you to buy my shit. But I really think we all need to put our phone down. What do they say nowadays? Touch grass. Is that what people say?
But
And
yeah,
we
I
need
don't
to
know.
focus on our clients. Focus on your clients. Like, stop focusing on yourself Oh, I post this. How many likes did I get? Oh, how does this make me feel? Grow up, focus on your client, and build your career and build your craft. Whatever happened to refining our craft? Like, whatever happened? I asked someone, when was the last time you took a class? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You have color specialist on your profile.
Can
When was the
you
last time you took a class?
can you give us a I know we're running up on our time here, but on that note, can you what is your take on online video education for technical training versus in person? Is it a complement or a supplement or neither or both?
I mean, I think all education is good. I just got an educator's online program. I watched 3 videos. They were good. It was nothing like groundbreaking, you know? It wasn't something I had never seen before, but it got me really excited to do hair, and I think that was worth the money. It got
Totally.
me excited to do hair. When it comes to really refining our craft, the way that you're gonna do that is behind the chair experience and hands-on classes.
Yeah.
If you take a class, do that on your client. Try something new, it's like doing crossword puzzles. Like, if you're doing the same thing every day, you're gonna be stagnant. Like, try something different. Get a model. I think getting a model is an amazing form of education. If you're gonna actually, like, invest in online education, get a model, do something creative. Take a hands-on class now and again. Take a business class now and again. But, like, I always say, like, 1 to 2% of total revenue. So if you're bringing in 100K, spend 2K on education.
That's good.
Make the
Nice.
investment. I feel like you will get it back. I mean, I've always made the investment and gotten it back. There's some classes though you go to and it's just like, what do you expect? You expect them to like reprogram your brain for $400? Like, you need to go to therapy. Like, if you want to go to a class and have your entire life change, like, I think your expectations are really, really high. And you're going to have a life-changing experience going to therapy once a week and working on yourself. So I think like managing your expectations, taking classes to be inspired and to like stay with it, cuz like the worst is just getting like burnt out and like, oh, I don't feel like doing hair. Oh, every client, but you get into like a rut. And I think like any type of education, whether it be online, subscription, coaching, any type is good. But definitely 1 to 2K investment. If you're making, or depending on 1 to 2% investment, if you're making that investment in yourself, I'm sorry, but there's no way it's not going to reflect in your confidence, in your paycheck, with your clients. You're going to get that money back. So I think that's always been like one of the core things of a happy, healthy hairdresser is just investing in their continued education, whatever that may be. I like a hands-on class. I like a hands-on class, but sometimes I get a little willy-nilly and I go do my own thing. So, like, sometimes I need to, like, watch videos and get a model. I don't that's kinda like how I am, but for somebody else, they may be a hands-on learner, and that's the best way they learn. So I think that's something you should know about yourself is what your best way to learn is.
Totally. That was awesome. Well, I mean, that's our time. Thank you so much. That was a great conversation. How can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at I am Gina Bianca. You can go to thenetworksalon.com. Our website is dope. Go check out our website. We just had it redone. So I'm just like, go check out our website. Educate with Influence, the Network Mastermind. You had asked me before we started, like, where I get my business information. Like, is there
Oh,
something I'm
yes,
reading or
yes.
something like that? And like,
Yeah.
it's funny because like I don't have the bandwidth to take in new information sometimes. Like, I would just love to listen to a Joe Rogan podcast and like zone out. I like have like very little bandwidth, and like where I get my information is my students, my stylists, my everyday experience as a salon owner. And I think that's what kind of like makes me me is like anything I'm teaching about or sharing or talking about is just from everyday experience. And I loved that question. I was like, you know what? It is really everyday
That's
experience.
awesome.
So
That's
I really
awesome.
appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future. And until next time, have a good one.
Thanks. Thanks so much, everyone.